Ho, 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 Merry Christmas. It's fucking snowing while I'm driving.
Oh, that sounds really dangerous. Maybe you shouldn't be talking to a random schmo.
No, because it keeps me alert and focused rather than zoning out and focus like getting distracted.
You're a very strange individual. What are we talking about? Because
Yeah.
we're not talking about Smash
Okay.
apparently, because that's tomorrow.
Yeah, that's tomorrow. So
We're
you're telling
cutting
me that
that
you're
from the
listening to the
record, by the
Yakuza.
way.
I'm gonna blow your mind. So
I had a
so we were
topic, but I
you were
forgot
just
what it was.
so you if you think of a topic, you can jump in whenever you get an opening, I guess. But so you told me that you're listening to Yakuza 5 music. I told you before the thing that Yakuza music is generally good. Okay, the composer for Yakuza 3 is the composer for Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky,
Yeah.
who's also the composer for I Have Somnium Files. I just
Oh,
wanted to say that.
that's
Yeah,
impressive. Are you talking
and
about Mystery Dungeon now?
yeah, yeah. Let's talk about Mystery Dungeon. That was my segue into Mystery Dungeon. It's like, oh, a game with a soundtrack I really like came out this year, and he worked on a Yakuza game, and you're talking about Yakuza.
I made a bunch
Actually, well,
of
I mean,
grunting noises. Now my dad is afraid of.
but
I'm
yeah, no,
fine.
I
It's
was
all
I
right.
was thinking Mystery Dungeon.
Ah,
I was
Mystery
gonna
Dungeon is
say
such a
Mystery.
good Pokemon. Mystery Dungeon is such a good game, and then they killed the series. And ain't that a spicy hot take? Welcome back to Bros in a Landfill, the only show where spicy hot takes are not spicy.
Rather lukewarm, actually.
Yeah, lukewarm, mild
Uh,
lukewarm take.
yeah. Here's a really spicy hot take. I don't like to play Mystery Dungeon games, but I love the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon aesthetic.
Here's a spicy hot take. Actually, this joke doesn't really work, so I'm just gonna drop it and start talking about Mystery Dungeon. I really like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red and Blue,
Yeah.
and Time and Darkness, and I think Sky was the
Oh yeah.
best game in the series. And then Gates to Infinity. Everyone seemed to dislike Gates to Infinity. Gates to Infinity was weird to me because on its own, as a pure standalone, it's mediocre at best. But Nintendo has a bad habit of coming up with new terrible ideas and then completely running with them. So I was not afraid of. I was more afraid of what Gates to Infinity would beget, and my fears were completely founded in Super Mystery Dungeon, which completely killed the franchise.
Ooh.
So yeah, so
Yeah. No.
even though
I.
Mystery Dungeon DX is gonna be a remake of Red and Blue, which are two games that I love, like I still boot up my Game Boy to play Pokemon Red Rescue Team. I'm not buying Mystery Dungeon DX.
Yeah.
I don't trust you, Game Freak. I'm
Well,
sorry.
going back to what I said a bit earlier, it's like the reason why I love Pokemon Mystery Dungeon so much is by not liking Mystery Dungeon format gameplay is the aesthetic, and I really didn't like what I don't like how the games look with the three models in general. I didn't like how it looks with Gates of Infinity, Super, Mystery Dungeon. I think the sprite artwork in the
Uh,
Game Boy and DS titles like really sold the experience. Like there was both this sense of yes, cute Pokemon, colorful, whatnot. But there's also this sense of like sadness and dread. I really think that the original artwork for the two games, like there was a bit of grittiness to it that the rough sprite work really added. And granted, a lot of the old Pokemon games kind of had similar like as things got more polished, things became a little less gritty. And
I was gonna
I
say,
think it works for it works for the mainline series, but I think Pokemon Mystery like the Mystery Dungeons have this sense of tension, being dungeon crawlers
when you talk
that I
about
think
grit, okay, you keep going. I'm sorry. I keep thinking you're done, but you're not.
well, yeah. Well, the Pokemon's always had like this underlying darkness to it
Hmm.
that is always goofy because like they, I guess, never really acknowledge. It's like, oh yeah, there's fucked up things in the Pokemon world. As a trainer, you don't really get to experience that stuff, but in the Pokemon, like in Mystery Dungeon, when you are the Pokemon, you can't help but be aware of like how fucked up Pokemon actually can be. And I think the less polished sprite work helps give it a little bit of that edge. where the polished 3D models make it just seem like colorful toys rather than living. It almost becomes less realistic with the 3D models. I don't know.
When we're talking about like grit, sorry, something came up. When we talk about like grit and models and stuff, I'm not sure if you're talking about art style or tone. And in terms of art style,
Well,
I was gonna, yeah,
the art style does a lot in regards to setting the tone, and
yeah,
it's the art style. And the art style, because there's narrative tone, there's art style tone, and they can complement or go against or clash. But when you're talking about something where like the art style sets a tone, specifically in this case,
well, it's
like
like
the story of Mystery Dungeon's like not like it's not like, oh yeah, super dark gritty story, but the
Mystery
roughness
Dungeon.
adds.
I'm not gonna. I don't know what to say because I really want to like make Lunch play Pokemon Mystery
Yeah,
Dungeon because it's. I
yeah,
really love
well,
Red Rescue Team and Blue Rescue Team. They're like top
yeah. Oh,
5 for me.
yeah. Well, the Mystery Dungeon games, I feel like do like have some very sad overtones. Like as you learn the story, as you learn the truth of the situation and whatnot, and as you experience the story. And I think the brighter atmosphere and the brighter colors do clash with what ends up happening. Like
Well,
I
okay.
don't.
Well, I was gonna say like for starters, if that's what you find, you really would not like Super Mystery Dungeon at all. That game has
Well,
no balls.
I can, I can look at Super Mystery Dungeon and tell that I'm not gonna like it. I can look at the box, I can look at the box art for the game and be like, yeah, this isn't for me.
God, I
The fact that
wanted.
they call it,
God,
the fact that they call it Super Mystery Dungeon makes me want to play it even less.
God, I could talk forever about how bad Super Mystery Dungeon is. I think it's literally one of like one of the worst games I've ever played, period. And I would put it like top 3 worst games of all time. But
Ouch.
yeah,
That's amazing.
for reference, that one game I keep talking about, that I won't name, but I talk about it a lot. I would not even put that game in my top 20 worst games. Not even close. Not even 21. So take that.
And well,
Let that help
from what I've
influence
heard,
your
well,
understanding of how bad I think Super Mystery Dungeon is.
well, from what I've gathered from your criticism, it's not just that the game's bad; it's borderline unplayable.
It
Like
is completely unplayable. But anyways, but before we get too far off topic, I know I'm gonna go insane if I don't bring this up. But like what we were talking about, like art style and grit and stuff, it's like I feel like grit kind of has like a sort of grit. I feel like grit kind of has become a bit of a dirty word because of like I don't remember when this happened, but I remember there was like the rise of edgy stuff and like super dark stuff and things, and then people got really sick of it and they're like, ugh, it's the edgy protagonist, no, it's the gritty stuff. So I feel like grit kind of has become a dirty word. Like we don't want grit and grim dark in our Pokemon. But I'm like, no, because I compare like Pokemon Fire Red to Pokemon X and Y, for example, because X and Y was the first game that had like the 3D models, and it's like Fire Red felt more like a real world to me because it was really dirty. But then X and Y looks really
yeah,
clean, and it's a little bit jarring when you're running around this like dark, dank like cave that's really clean. And then meanwhile in Fire Red
like
you have like Grimer, which is literally toxic sludge, or Charizard kind of has
it,
like these shadows and he looks dirty and stuff. So like modern
it's
Charizard
kind of
looks so smooth. It looks weird to me. He's so smooth.
not the not the non sequitur, but it's kind of funny that X and Y is so clean, considering France and especially Paris aren't known for being clean places.
Well, to be fair, is
Like
anywhere known for being clean?
anyways, it's like which I think what you're getting back to is that like you're talking about like Charizard being so smooth, and that's the sort of thing is animals have like rough features that have like even like the fur on Pokemon don't isn't like actually like furry. It's like blocks of whatever. Where when you had the sprite artwork, the less I guess the less detail, like the less detail, the less polished there is of something, the more there is for you to imagine. Like the closer something gets to reality, the closer something gets to polished, the less room there is for you to imagine, like well to fill in the details. Like
Mm-hmm.
in like when you're looking at a sprite of Charizard, you're not thinking, oh, this is exactly how it would look like in real life. When you're moving the 3D models, you're getting a little bit closer to that uh what was that word called again? The uncanny. You're getting close to the uncanny valley of is this real, like of reality because you're dealing with a third dimension, and it ends up looking more like a toy than it does a creature that has like creature-like features.
I agree
Dizzy?
with you. It's hard to respond when someone says something that you agree with because then you're like, I agree with you, and then just okay, cool. What do I say now?
Yeah, yeah. But I don't think, for me, it never mattered too much with the mainline Pokemon games because I felt like there was a lot more going for Pokemon, the mainline Pokemon games than just its edge and atmosphere. I felt like Pokemon's more about this adventure. Where with the Mystery Dungeon games, because they're dungeon crawlers, because you're exploring this vast, scary world, that's as a small starter Pokemon, the world is large and scary, and there's a lot of threats, and you're always afraid that you're going to be jumped face against a strong Pokemon or whatever. If you're like on your first playthrough, if you're not familiar with things, and even if you played through things before, there's always a bit of tension because like Mystery Dungeon games are more like roguelike than a regular Pokemon game. And having that extra edge and roughness to the art like builds on that atmosphere rather than just like, oh, I'm a toy bouncing around in this like pretty world.
So what do you think of Pokemon Rumble Blast then? A game where you literally
But
play as Pokemon toys.
that's different. It's the idea is you're playing Pokemon toys. It's not like these are real Pokemon. Like the Pokemon Rumble series in general was under no illusion that these are real Pokemon. They were always these are Pokemon toys. Also, it's a beat 'em. It's like a beat 'em up style game, not a tension filled
I'm saying,
um
do you like it better
slow.
in that game where everything is
Oh,
smooth and silky
absolutely.
by
As
design and
yeah, it
low
would
texture
feel
by design?
like well like on the other side of things, if that game wasn't as polished as it I don't think it would work as well because I think part of the game's charm is its aesthetic. Have it like being like, oh, you have these toys. It's like it's got a similar, I guess, feeling as similar idea or feeling as the Smash Brothers series, where like the idea of the original Smash Brothers games is that you have a bunch of it's like when you're playing with your toys and you're making them fight each other. That's what
Hmm.
you're doing in Rumble, like the Rumble games is you got a bunch of toys and you're playing imagination with your toys, but Nintendo's filling in the gaps for you.
And now Smash Brothers has come so far, and God, I'm not gonna go there and talk about what
Yeah,
it's on my mind. There's no reason. It's not gonna. That's just a waste of conversation.
yeah. We'll talk about Smash Brothers in another recording. Uh, but
Without me,
yeah,
I hope.
yeah. Well, if Lunch and Tara are on tomorrow, like you could probably take the day off. Maybe Lunch can record the Discord stuff.
Nah,
Anyways,
just
I'm home,
all right.
so you've got footage to add into things.
I just
I
wanted
would
to add that like I I really like Mystery Dungeon, and I also have absolutely no faith in its future. And I'll say this too, actually, about Mystery Dungeon, and every Mystery Dungeon game, with the exception of Super Mystery Dungeon, and this includes the quote unquote bad one, which is Gates to Infinity, which people really didn't like that game. But like Mystery Dungeon games had an edge, and they had grit, and they had like a darkness to them, but they never like reveled in it is the thing.
yeah.
They were never grim dark. They were never
Well,
like crawling in my skin
well,
and stuff. But and
well,
that's
it was
yeah.
it was always the atmosphere, not it was never the it was the games never wanted you to feel bad, but it had this atmosphere that complemented the gameplay.
Well, you say they never wanted you to feel bad. So there are some parts in some games that absolutely want to make you feel like crap, but it's
And
like
it's called and it's Super Mystery Dungeon with this gameplay.
Super Mystery Dungeon's entire existence wants to make you feel like crap.